don't forget to like and subscribe.
Hello there. Hello there. Yes, I'm on chapter 12. Mentor. From one mentor to another. Yeah. Scale breathed out a raspy breath as condensation filled the air. The first army sent out to the front lines was completely wiped out. What? How? We just got word from the elves that the army up and left their post, charging further into the battlefield. Ash paled as Scale continued speaking. I feel it was the elves. What do you mean? Well, you have probably never seen elves, dwarves, or goblins, but let me tell you, elves are not as they appear. If you live long enough to speak with them, you will understand what I mean. That does not really tell me anything. Scale leaned in towards Ash, saying, they hate humans, men especially. Ah, okay. Well, I felt that when I saw one in Anchor Hill. You are wiser than most. Most do not see past their beauty. Scale added with frustration while pulling back, getting into a less conspiratorial pose. None of that changes the fact that I have to go, right? Scale let out an exhausted breath. No, it doesn't. So, what are my orders? You are no longer under my supervision. You are being reassigned to Group Leader Byron to get your assignment. Why do I need to be reassigned just to get my assignment? They don't want you to be under my protection. I believe you have the Lord's Son to thank for that. I do not like this one bit. Thank you for everything, Ash said, saluting Scale. Scale shook his head, still disturbed. Take this, he said as he held out his staff for Ash to take. Ash's hands trembled as he reached out. But be careful with this. This staff has a power of its own, Scale added. Ash hesitated for a moment, with his hands shaking right above the staff, thinking quickly of whether he should take it or not. He decided not to refuse Scale and grabbed the ivory staff. A sudden heat rushed over him and flowed through his body as his fingers wrapped themselves around a cold bone. Time seemed to slow as he gazed and twirled the staff in his hands. Ash's eyes grew wide as he gazed upon the staff and looked up again at Scale to see if the old man would truly part with such treasure. But Scale had already gone, losing himself in the first snowfall. Ash was surprised at the lightness of the staff. A warmth and security came over him in that moment, as he knew the staff was one of a kind and filled with immense power. Ash spun it around a few more times in his hands, in the same way he had trained with the staff-shaped stick he had found. He felt himself lighter, thinking faster, and moving quicker. He tested it out for a while longer until all around him was silent. Realizing he had remained outside the wall long after all the others had left, he headed out in search for Group Leader Byron. At first appearance, Byron seemed to be nothing more than a drunk lost in another bottle of brown. And, well, that is exactly what he was. Sir, I am Ash, a caster, and I was told to come to you and get my assignment. Byron took another long drink from his glass as some of the thick brown drink beaded down his black beard. Then he slammed his wooden mug on the table, letting out a hiccup and loud burp. The people sitting at the next table over looked disgusted. Sir, Ash yelled out. Byron let out another hiccup while jumping, startled, and looked up at Ash. Byron's head swayed back and forth as he tried to get a fix on Ash. So which one of you called me? He finally said, raising his finger in the direction of Ash. Ash looked behind himself and saw that there was no one else standing there. He said, turning back to Byron, it is just me. Only one of you speak at a time, Byron said as his eyes began to close and his nodding head dropped onto the table. Was all Ash thought to say. Not again, Ash heard someone groan from behind him. He turned to see a young boy wearing a pointed cap with a shallow brim, which signified he was a messenger for the army. No. Ash addressed the boy. Hey there, do you know this man? He asked, pointing to Byron's now unconscious frame. The boy looked at Ash. Why? He asked. I am to report to Byron. Oh, well, then yes, he answered, turning his gaze from Ash to the unconscious Byron. Can you help me get him out of here? All right. Ash grabbed one arm of the unconscious Byron and slung it over his shoulder, letting Byron's feet drag along the ground as he pulled him out of the pub. The people in the way moved to make room, but no one got up or offered to help. The young messenger ran around the table to get in front of Ash and his load to open the door. Follow me, he said, walking a little ahead of Ash. Where are we taking him? To his tent. Silence fell over them as Ash followed the boy out of the city. Once outside, the boy spoke again. I am sorry about this. Since this morning, he has been in the pub refusing to leave. Why was he there? His son and brother were the first. His son and brother were in the first group sent out to battle for the elves. The army will be replenishing. Oh. Do you happen to know why I was sent to him? Ash again questioned the boy. Really? I did not know he was going to have subordinates. He is not well liked, so he is not supposed to have his own command. So it is just me that was told to report to him. So it is just me who was told to report to him. The boy shrugged his shoulders. Well, maybe they just have a task for you two. Maybe they just have a task for the two of you. They arrived at the tent, and Ash thanked the boy. Ash slept outside in the cold as he waited for the next morning's departure. He had no real belongings other than his cloak, with the stone concealed in his sleeve. The bag he had carried with him at all times, and now the staff given to him by Scale. The fact that neither of us are well liked, and in this small of a group, is not a good sign. His mind wandered over the implications of it all night as he sat at the trunk of the tree. As he sat at the trunk of a tree outside Byron's tent. The tree protected him from the snow as he wrapped himself in his cloak and the blanket roll from his bag. He pulled on power from the staff and let that warm feeling flow through him. The end of chapter 12. Questionable. Thank you all for listening. Read to you next time. Toodles.